than half the people who show up every week. We discuss Gita, we're in the second chapter now. For all of you who are here for hearing from Keshava Maharaj, perhaps you all know him. Maharaj doesn't need an introduction. He's from UK. He's been practicing Krishna consciousness more than 2.5 decades now, and is a monk. He's a sannyasi. Sannyas, the order of
microphone.
It's okay.
Maharaj ke baad.
Oh, okay.
We can't hear.
They can Maharaj. So we have Maharaj. He is an amazing teacher and an author. He guides so many youths, families, and people of all walks all around the world. So great fortune that we have him here today. Let's welcome Maharaj by very loudly chanting Hare Krishna mantra one more time. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Bhagwan Keshava Maharaj ki Jai.
Hare Krishna everyone, thank you so much. Everyone's doing good? So this evening we'll just spend a little bit of time singing, then we'll have a little bit of a discussion, and today maybe we keep it a little interactive. Maybe you have some questions or some things on your mind, so I'll share a few thoughts with you, and then we'll see where we go from there. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Everyone together. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshuramilitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Krishna Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Thank you so much. You all should be in a choir. So I'm very happy to be here with all of you. and it's the Bhakti space. It's a space here where we talk about Bhakti, or we talk about love, we talk about the ultimate goal of life, and we talk about the very thing that Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that everyone is looking for. And today our topic is it really practical? Is Bhakti really something that we can all do in our life? Is it something achievable? Before I talk about that, I want to ask you a question. How many of you do Bitcoins? Just figuring out, yeah. Okay, some of you, yeah. How of you trade shares or anything like that? Everyone's like, no, not me. I'm sure some of you make investments, right? So if I gave you £1 million and offered you the opportunity to make an investment, what are the questions you would ask before making an investment into something? Any ideas?
How many do you want back?
How much am I going to get back? That's probably the first question you're going to ask. If I invest, then what is the return that I'm going to get? Okay, very good. What other questions may you ask before you make an investment?
For how long?
Okay, we have an entrepreneur here. She has all the answers. What's the rate? What's the rate of return? When am I going to get it? Not just what am I going to get, but how long is it going to take? Yes, you will double your money in 100 years. I'm going to be gone by then. Okay, so the second question you ask is, when am I going to get it back? Okay, any other questions you would ask?
Is it safe or risky?
Yeah, is there any risk? Is the US president going to do something that's going to make the market crash or something, What's the risk involved? Okay. Is it ethical? Is there any exploitation? Does anyone lose out because of me gaining? That's a very righteous thing. Thank you so much for bringing some ethics into the investment. The dharma of capitalism. Anything else? What other questions may you ask before making an investment? Yes.
What are you going to do with the money?
What are you going to do? Okay. I've got plenty of ideas. Let me know. Yes. But we may ask, what are we going to do once we get that? How is it going to benefit us? Or what is it going to allow us to do? Anything else you may ask before making an investment?
Is it taxable?
Is it taxable? That's a good point. Am I going to lose something? I may gain many things, but am I going to lose something in the process? Am I going to miss out? Or once I get it, is someone going to take it away? Very good. If you look on every one of these counts, it makes logical, philosophical, rational sense that Bhakti Yoga is the best investment you can make in your life on all of these counts. Because the first thing is, if the very first question when we make a investment is we ask, what will I get back? And the amazing thing is that the investment in Bhakti Yoga gives you that one thing back, which if you get, you don't need anything else. Imagine every investment of this world. It doesn't matter how valuable it seems to be, once you get it, you also need something else. But what's that one thing that you can get that will then neutralize every single other desire that you could conceivably have in your heart? There's no investment like that in the world. But through Bhakti Yoga, through developing divine love, you become so fulfilled, you become so satisfied that you don't need anything else. Santushta Satatam yogi yatatma drita nishchaya santushta, which means the yogi, the one established in divine consciousness, has become so fulfilled that they don't require anything. So therefore, Bhakti Yoga is the only investment which can give you something that can neutralize every single other endeavor. And therefore you see that those who are actually advancing in this process of Bhakti Yoga, they become more and more indifferent to all the other things that people are running around like mad for. The biggest lie in the world is the lie which is told in every culture, has been told in every generation, and it's the biggest lie because even when you know it's not true, you still keep believing it. And what's the biggest lie in the world? That material achievements, material accolades, material attainment will make you happy. It's amazing. Even the devotees in the Hare Krishna movement who say material things don't make you happy. Even sometimes many of us are looking for material things within the Hare Krishna movement. But when one actually develops devotion, then yam labdva cha param labham manyate na adhikam tatha. Once having achieved this, one thinks there's no greater gain. There's nothing else to get, nothing else to endeavor for. And so, Bhakti Yoga is the best investment because the return is something you will not get from any investment in this world. You may say, yeah, it's all good. How long is this thing going to take? Therefore, Krishna says in the Gita, Deshamaham samudharta mrityu samsara sagarat bhavami nachirad partha maya veshit chaitasham. He says, na achirat. Na achirat means no time. No time. There's a famous video of Srila Prabhupada, and someone asked him the question, Srila Prabhupada, how long does it take to become Krishna conscious? And Prabhupada looks at him as though he's like an alien. Prabhupada says, what are you doing? Are you not reading the books? And he's like, and Prabhupada says in a moment, this investment is so incredible that it's only dependent upon your own attitude. It's only dependent on your own enthusiasm and hunger. It's only dependent on your own sincerity and purity. And the most amazing thing is that can be changed within a moment if you want it to. Now you may say, yeah, he always says this in front of the mic. Can't really, I've been trying for so long, it's not that easy. Yes. Simple for the simple. Complicated for the complicated. Therefore, if one actually becomes humble, if one actually becomes simple, if one actually just tries to take them out of the center, themselves out of the center, just for a moment, just give it a try. Just try. Try to get out of the center. They say everyone wants to be at the front of the bus, at the back of the church, and the center of attention. It's so hard to take ourselves out of the center. We're always thinking about me. It's amazing. If you go to the UK and you buy a map of the world, you know which country is at the center, right? And if you go to America and you buy a map of the world, you know which country is at the center, right? Because we always put ourselves in the center of everything. Krishna says, if you're able just to take yourself out of the center, so simple, so close, but we sometimes feel it to be so far. in that moment of purity, you immediately experience the love, the fruit of Krishna consciousness. So therefore it's the best investment because the return, the rate of return is like super quick if you have the right attitude, if we have the right attitude. Then someone may ask, well, what are the requirements to make this investment? Okay, the return is good. The rate of return is super quick. But what's the requirement? Can I actually do it? In so many investments of this world, you require a certain material qualification to make the investment. Or even in spiritual practices, often it requires a specific type of accomplishment. Someone has to be learned. In some traditions, they'll tell you you have to be born in a certain family. In some traditions, they'll tell you you have to be very, very austere. In some traditions, they will tell you that, if you've done some bad activity in your life, then you are barred. The amazing thing is that the requirements are so low in Krishna consciousness in one sense. It's available, open to everyone. And therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Niyamita smarane nakalaha. Usually in spiritual practices, there are very, very strict, what we call niyams. Niyams means like a rule or a regulation or a requirement. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says in this bhakti process, it doesn't matter what kind of background you come from. Once I was going past a church and there was a sign and it said, every saint had a past and every sinner has a future. So it's kind of like that. Sometimes we think, oh my God, look at all of the things I've done in my life. Look at all of the terrible decisions that I've made. And we just think it's never going to be possible for me. But Padita Pavana Hetu Tavayavatar, the incarnation who comes to deliver this process of bhakti, he says, my mission is I want to deliver those who are considered the most disqualified. I'm going to make a process which even they can practice. And therefore it's the best investment because you don't require any special there's no special requirement. Someone may say, yeah, all of this makes sense, but what about the risk? What about if I become involved in this? When you start coming, don't go too deep because you might miss out on something. Even my dad said to me when I started coming to the Hare Krishna temple on a weekday. On a weekday? Sunday is okay. A weekday? Is everything okay? Everything's perfectly fine, Dad. No, he told me, don't go too deep. Before my name was Sandeep. He said, don't go too deep, Sandeep. I said, you gave me the name. So I said to my dad, no, don't worry. I am a very balanced person. Anyway, what to do? Completely imbalanced. But some people, they become very worried when you become spiritually serious because they think you're going to miss out on something. What about your career? What about your ambitions? You're smart, you're young, you're tall, you're dark. That's not talking about me, obviously. And people think you're going to lose out. It's amazing, even parents who are in Krishna consciousness, when their children aren't Krishna conscious, then they bring them to the temple and they're like, learn Bhagavad Gita, you should learn Bhagavad Gita. And when they start learning Bhagavad Gita and they start getting interested, then their parents come and say like, okay, not too much. It's interesting, even they still want you to have your things in the world, isn't it? I remember once we had a young boy, he wanted to join the temple. So, well, many of you are aware, especially if you come from an Indian family and you decide to give it all up and become a sadhu, a monk. So he decided. So at one point, a whole delegation from his family came. It was like a rugby team. It was like intense. And then our head monk was there, and then the father was speaking, and he goes, you should send him home. And his father looked at the head monk and he said, let him grow up. Let him finish his studies. Let him get a job. Let him get married. Let him have children. And when his children are as old as he is, then he can go. So the monk looked at the father and said, forget him, we'll take you instead then. And at that moment he was like, no, it's alright, you just take him, it's alright. So people are worried because they think that there's a risk. If you take this up, then you're going to miss out on something in life. But actually, it's not that you lose your ambition when you come to Krishna consciousness. Actually, devotees in the Krishna consciousness movement are often the most successful. We have devotees in our movement who are millionaires, dare I say, billionaires. Devotees who have achieved the highest academic excellence, devotees who are incredibly influential, popular. Some of them even go viral on Instagram. But they do it all for a spiritual purpose. And then all of your success, all of your achievements mean something when you use it for a spiritual purpose. And so there's nothing to risk. You're not going to lose out on anything. In my life, I wanted adventure. I wanted to travel. I wanted to do illegal things as a kid. It's amazing. When I came to the Hare Krishna movement, I did all of that like 10x. The legal stuff we'll talk about another day. But we even do that in the Hare Krishna movement for a higher purpose, of course. You don't miss out on anything. Anything you could ever want, you can actually get it in spiritual life, and you can get it in such a much more beautiful, fulfilling, and abundant way. And therefore there's no risk. And then we can say that Bhakti Yoga is the greatest investment because I use the word repeat, because it repeatedly presents itself as an opportunity before you. So that you know what? If today you say, nice lecture, but I'm not ready for all of this, I'll just continue on. No worries. You know what? It will be waiting for you 6 months, 1 year, 10 years from now. But the sooner you do it, the sooner you embrace it, the sooner everything in your life will become that much more meaningful and beautiful. But even at the last point of life, you can do it. In the ancient Mahabharata, there's the story of Dhritarashtra, the blind king. And throughout his life, he got all good instruction. But every time he got good instruction, he never took it seriously. Even when Krishna gave him good instruction, he said, Krishna, your words are like lightning. In the moment, it illuminates my consciousness, and in the very next moment, I'm overcome by darkness. Sometimes we also feel like that. It all makes sense in the moment, and then you go out there, and darkness again comes over us. So Dhritarashtra, he said, this is my predicament. And he missed so many opportunities. But at the last stage of life, his brother Vidura came to him and finally convinced him, don't hold on to this world. Better you let it go. Because you know what? Time is going to snatch away everything from you very soon. So if you're wise, then just let it go. It's going to be less painful. And then he heard those words and he went to the north. In the ancient scriptures, it said at the end of life, people go to the north. You know what it means to go to the north? It means to go to the Himalayas. Because the Himalayas are said to be a portal to the other world. And therefore, anyone who perfects their life in those places gets extra spiritual merit. We're doing package tours if anyone's interested. So he went to the Himalayas and he perfected it. So in this way, Bhakti Yoga is the best investment because the return is incomparable. The rate is quicker than you can imagine. What's the next one I said?
Requirement?
The requirement is that it's open to everyone. The risk is practically zero because you're going to do everything that you were going to do in life anyway, but you're going to do it in so much more of a beautiful way. And finally, if after all of that, we still say, thanks, but no thanks. The most amazing thing about this investment is it will always be available for you. And so, you never miss the boat. You never miss the window. Because the opportunity is always there. But as Gandhi said, if there's a good thing and you can do it today, why wait till tomorrow? Because we don't know what tomorrow will bring. Life is full of change. Everything in this world is changing. Your relationships will change. Your fortunes will change. Your health will change. Dear friends, even your hairstyle will change. I have personal experience. Everything in the world changes. So, why hang on? Rather, hang on to the unchanging, eternal reality. Because if you hold on to this ever-changing reality, you hold yourself back from the eternal reality. In the Niti Shastra it said, one who gives up the temporary for the eternal loses nothing. And one who gives up the eternal for the temporary loses everything. Understand? If you give up the eternal for the temporary, you lose everything because you lose the eternal benefit and the temporary benefit that you are going to lose, you lose that as well. So you lose everything. But one who gives up the temporary for the eternal loses nothing. Because the temporary that they were going to give up, that they gave up, they were going to lose it anyway. And then they get the eternal. And that lasts with them forever. So, these are all eternal investments. And the yogis go to the bank of the Varanasi go to Varanasi on the bank of the Ganges. And you know what they do there, right? They meditate in front of the funeral pyres. Have you ever seen an open pyre funeral? So in that moment, reality hits. Time is ticking. The body is a ticking time bomb. Sorry, I'm just being a bit dramatic here. But it's like that. So, we have a great opportunity. It's not just, this is not just dry philosophy. This is life. And the Bhagavatam, I'll end on this point and then I'll open up for questions. The Bhagavatam says we have 4 things in our possession. Etava janma safalyam dehinam iha dehishu pranerarthe diya vacha shreya acharanam sada. Practically in your life, there's only 4 things that you really have. Prana means your life, your energy, your vitality. Artha, money is the honey. Got some money. Diya, your intelligence. Yes, yes. BSc, MSc, PhD, MAD. We have some intelligence. And vacha, your words. Practically, these are the 4 things by which you can get things done in the world. By your energy, by your wealth, by your intelligence, and by your words. Now, what the Bhagavatam says is you can use it for Shreyas, or you can use it for Preyas. Preyas means short-term, short-lived benefit. And Shreyas means long-term, eternal benefit. So, the great souls, if you want to measure who's a great soul, then just, of course, not that we should be measuring anyone else, we should just measure ourselves because we can't judge anyone else. But we should ask ourselves, how much of this are we investing in the eternal? And how much are we investing in the material? Simple. And according to your investment, you get a return. So if I tell you, if you invest £1 and you'll get £1 million back, how much are you going to invest? £1?
Oh.
You're going to put it all. You're not just going to say, oh wow, £1 you get £1 million, or I'll put £1 in then. No, that's not the right logic. The right logic is, the more you give, the more you get. So like this, life is an investment. And as we walk through this world, as we see the reality of what's going on, what should happen in the mind of a spiritual person is they should begin realizing, I need to invest more. Let me just keep investing more. Because anyway, the whole market is going to crash anyway. Stock market crash. Therefore, why? Let me just start giving more. And like that, we begin to taste the sweetness of what spiritual life can offer. So, I wish you the best in your investment decisions. May you think carefully about your life, your wealth, your intelligence, and your words. And may we all utilize it in the right place, which will bring us what we're really looking for. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
All right, thank you so much. Sorry, I'm a little bit dramatic sometimes, bad jokes, but I think you catch my heart, what I'm trying to share with you. I hope that was of some use to you. If anyone has any question they would like to ask or objection, or yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. How did Arjuna and Krishna became so close out of the 5 Pandavas? So why only Arjuna became so close to Sri Krishna?
Oh, thank you so much. Nice question. There are different reasons for that, actually. Of course, all of the Pandavas were very close to Krishna. Jiva Goswami mentions an interesting reason why Arjuna was the most favorite of the Pandavas. You want to know what it was? Where is Krishna's heart always? Where is Krishna always thinking of?
Radha.
Yes, and Vrindavan. So in Vrindavan there are Sakhis and there are Sakhas. These are Krishna's girlfriends and Krishna's cowherd friends. So it's said that there was one Sakha and his name was Arjun Sakha. Nothing to do with Arjun, but his name was Arjun Sakha. So Jiva Goswami says the reason why Krishna liked Arjun the most out of the Pandavas is because when he called Arjun, then he said the word Arjun, he remembered Arjun Sakha, and therefore he remembered Vrindavan. And therefore he liked Arjun because Arjun reminded him of Vrindavan. That was one reason that Jiva Goswami gives. Sounds incidental, but that's how much Krishna loves Vrindavan. Anyone who reminds him of Vrindavan immediately becomes very dear to Krishna. So that's one reason. And Krishna picked Arjun to relay the Bhagavad Gita to. Because really the reason that we know Arjun is very dear to Krishna is because he's the one that Krishna decided to speak the Bhagavad Gita to. And that's the unique relationship that they had. So another commentator says, why did Krishna speak the Gita to Arjun? Why didn't he speak it to Bhima? Bhima was also he had a bit of a temper, he could have done also with a few of the words of the Gita, it might have also helped. So they ask, why was Arjun picked by Krishna to speak the Bhagavad Gita to? Interesting question. So the commentator says, I can't remember who it is, but the commentator says, the reason Arjun was the one Krishna spoke the Gita to is because amongst the Pandavas, there was no one as talented, influential, and successful as Arjun. Arjun's name is Dhananjaya, the victor of all prosperity. So Krishna, he says, spoke the Gita to Arjun because he wanted to show it doesn't matter how successful you become. Even if you are the most successful amongst the 5 most successful individuals in the whole kingdom, you will still feel a vacuum in your heart because no amount of material success can fill the spiritual vacuum that's in the heart. And therefore Krishna specifically chose to speak the Gita to Arjun because he wanted to show that it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter what you have, it will always fall short. So these are some thoughts. Okay. Yes.
It's related to your point of the investment and the risk coming with it. Somewhere in the Bhagavad Gita, I forgot where,
Arjuna is asking this question to Krishna about what will happen to the unsuccessful yogi.
Yes.
Will he not end up in the torn clouds, I think, something like that.
Yes. A riven cloud.
A riven cloud, yeah. Can
A
you say
riven
something
cloud,
about
yes.
that?
And what was, I'll explain, I'll just show you. Just give me 1 second. Mahi. The joys of technology.
Also the answer to the question.
Yeah, so basically Arjun says, what about if I take up spiritual life, but then I don't perfect it? Then I can't enjoy spiritually, and I've simultaneously wrecked my chances in the material world. Have you noticed, once you join the Hare Krishna movement, you can't enjoy in the material world in the same way. Try. I dare you. You won't be able to. One devotee said to me, joining Krishna consciousness is like joining the mafia. You can't leave because you know too much. So Arjun, he says to Krishna, what about if I leave all of this material happiness behind? I try to get spiritual happiness, but I don't perfect it. Then I missed out there, I missed out here, and then I'm in the middle. No man's land. So this is Krishna's reply. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Partane Vehanamutra Vinashastasya Vidyate Nahi Kalyana Krit Kaschit Durgatim Tata Gacchati. Very beautiful. Krishna says, O Arjun, a spiritualist engaged in the process does not meet with destruction either in this world or in the spiritual world. One who does good, my friend, is never overcome by evil. So what Krishna is basically telling Arjun is that it doesn't matter, because it's not binary. It's not that I didn't make it there and I didn't make it here, therefore I'm in no man's land. No, however far along the journey you make it, even though it feels like you're in no man's land, what Krishna says is that your progress is maintained, and then you'll carry on from that point, going towards spiritual perfection. So basically, if you don't do it in this life, you'll have a better chance next time. Consolation. So I remember when I joined the Hare Krishna movement, a devotee, he came to me and he said, there's good news and there's bad news. So I said, what's the good news? Tell me the good news first. He said, the good news is you are doing this in your previous life. You were already doing it. I said, wow, that's amazing. I mean, I always knew I was kind of... I said, what's the bad news? He said, you messed it up. And therefore, practically, of course, some of you may be just here for a deeper spiritual purpose, but most of us here in this world are simply here because we already were doing this in a previous life, but we, like Arjun, got stuck in the middle. And by the point at which time ran out, we didn't do it. And therefore, here we are again in Amsterdam. Take 2. Try again. So Krishna says to Arjun, don't worry, there's no risk. Because even if it feels like you're missing out on both things, you're not. Because whatever progress you make, you can build on it and eventually get to where you want to get. But in the material world, if you don't finish something, it's like a complete waste of time. It's like, say for example, you do a 3-year degree. This didn't happen to me, by the way, just theoretically. If you do a 3-year degree and then you do like 2.5 years and then you kind of decide it's not for you, then you kind of leave and you got nothing to show for it, really speaking. Because in material endeavors, until you bring it to completion, you don't get the full benefit or any benefit. But with spiritual life, it's completely different. So there's no risk in that sense. Does that make sense?
Which verse was that?
640.
40.
640. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it says a statement like spiritual well-being is followed by material well-being. What does it mean? So what
Spiritual well-being is followed by material well-being.
So now whatever examples you gave is for a spiritual platform, right? Like I preserve what you have, I provide what you lack. Is the bhakti Krishna is promising, not the material assets, right? It's the spiritual things Krishna is promising, not my property, car, buildings, job or something. So in that sense, if spiritual well-being, if I think like, okay, if I'm spiritually successful, even materially, I will be able to manage well to hold to that bhakti. If I get into that sense, is it really contradicting with the case of like Bali Chakravarti, Vritrasur, everyone? So how do we know to understand? My understanding is wrong where I will have enough privileges to carry on my bhakti.
Okay, no problem. Take your time. Please, it's hot in here, so we need some air maybe. Yeah.
She's not well.
Oh, she's not well. Okay. Okay, take care. Mukti Dachi Bhakti. All the best. Yes, please take care. Yes, we so yes, here I'm talking about spiritual things. And your question is, but what about my material life? Is Krishna also going to maintain that? Is also Krishna going to provide for that? Is Krishna, or do I need to make a separate endeavor for that? Krishna is in your heart, and Krishna knows what you require. Okay? So, Krishna definitely will reciprocate. It doesn't mean that now I don't have to make any material endeavors. When you're a devotee, here I am telling you to invest in bhakti. That doesn't mean I'm telling you to give up your investment in any other aspect of duty out there. You have to do both side by side. So the point here is that if you make more investment in bhakti and you simultaneously perform your duty out there in the world, then Krishna will reciprocate with you and give you whatever you require. You will not lose out on anything. You won't lose out on anything. Okay then? So you won't lose out on anything. So what I'm not suggesting that you take up bhakti and that you don't make any endeavors now in the material world and now Krishna will just sort it out. No, you make your endeavor. And whatever is required, you accept it, that this is the right amount for me. Prabhupada says even the pigeons are getting food. Yeah? So Krishna is maintaining everyone. Pigeons don't have an overseas Swiss bank account, but they're getting enough to get by in this world. So Krishna will make arrangements. As long as you're dutiful and as long as you're sincere.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. You were mentioning about investment in bhakti. Sorry, I'm not being like consumer mindset here, but in bhakti, how does it work? Like quality versus quantity. I mean, like there should be some means of quantifying something, but yeah, like how to like perceive that like quality and quantity in bhakti.
The basic answer to that is you have to do both. And what we often do is we often make these two things opposed. So we convince ourselves that if I'm doing more quantity, then of course I won't be able to offer the same quality. And if I really want to do something with good quality, then I can't actually do that much. So oftentimes psychologically what we do is we make these two things opposed. But actually in the life of a dynamic spiritualist, these two things are actually complementary. So that when you do something with quality, what happens is your taste for that thing grows so much that your quantity naturally increases. And the idea is that if you do something with quantity again and again, then naturally because of your absorption in that, the quality will increase. So it requires a shift of mindset, because sometimes people, they come with the $64 million question. Should I do 4 rounds really well? Or should I do 16 rounds like... And they, as if those two things are mutually exclusive. You can do it. Basically, we can do it. When we put our minds to it, we can do it. I was once giving a talk and one person put his hand up and he said, how can you be determined in spiritual life? I looked at this person, I said, you got a master's degree. How did you do it if you weren't determined? I looked at this person, he has 3 kids. I said, you brought up 3 kids. How could you do it if you weren't determined? I looked at this person, he came from India to the West and started a whole life here. I said, how could you have done it if you weren't determined? And here you are sitting here asking me, how can I be determined? In your life, you are already determined for so many things. So now, you have to be determined for Krishna. You have to be determined and say, I'm not coming back here again. And it's not just a statement, it has to reflect. Because if you want to achieve what other people don't achieve, you have to be ready to do what other people wouldn't do. So we have to make an investment. We can't hit the jackpot without making an investment. One person prayed to God every single day, I want to win the lottery, I want to win the lottery. Every single day, so determined, he prayed. At the end of life, he died. He hadn't won the lottery. God appeared before him. He said, how could you deny me? Every single day I prayed to you without fail that I wanted to win the lottery. And my whole life you didn't reciprocate with me. God looked at him and said, at least you could have bought a lottery ticket. Buy the ticket. I'm ready. Not just lip service. You must do. Just like you were determined for so many things. Now, I must get Krishna. Thank you. Don't buy a lottery ticket. Yes.
Maharaj, in this investment, how important is the association of devotees?
How important is the association of devotees? Krishna Bhakti Janma Mula Hoya Sadhu Sang. Krishna Prema Janma Teho Punamokya Ang. In a Bengali verse is said that the Krishna Bhakti Janma Mula, the root cause of the awakening of devotion, Hoya Sadhu Sang, is if one associates with spiritually minded people. In other words, through good association, one gets all the wisdom, one gets all the determination, one gets all the instruction, one gets all the encouragement in their spiritual journey. And therefore you can't do it alone. And one way to measure the wealth of your spiritual life is how many genuine spiritual friends do I have in my life? The more friends, the more genuine relationships, the more contact with sincere. Sincere is the point. It doesn't have to be someone who's big. It doesn't have to be someone who's popular. It doesn't have to be someone who's got a position. It doesn't have to be a guru. It doesn't have to be a sannyasi. You will be surprised, even in your own community, there are amazing devotees who we can learn from. But what happens is we become familiar with each other. And therefore, we don't appreciate that these sincere devotees are around me. We think the great devotees are the ones who just travel in for some time. No, devotees are here. So let's learn from each other, let's connect deeply. Then we become wealthy. All right, I don't want to keep on going on and on and on.
Take one last
One last, okay. Is any last?
I have a question.
Yes. Go for it.
In the beginning of your talk, you forgot right away.
Thank you.
You talked about parents wanting their children not to be absorbed too much in the movement, but to have a taste or experience the
Material things.
material things.
Mm.
And I thought our ultimate parent is Krishna as well. And he's giving us also the choice of this material experience. So why do we want to enjoy it? Why do we have the anantas? Why do we get this choice to do this?
The government creates a jail. Is it because the government wants the people to go to jail? What can the government do? If people are deviant, if people need reformation, if people need to go through an experience to transform their consciousness, the government has no choice. So in the same way, this material world in one sense is not created by Krishna. Is actually created by our desire, and Krishna then reciprocates with that. It wasn't Krishna's bright idea to create the material world. It was our desire to try to explore what it would be like to be separate from the spiritual world. And so here we are in the material world, trying to live it all out, trying to experience. So Krishna, he wants us to love him, but love can't be forced. Has to be their choice. Even as a parent, you realize at one point you can't just keep forcing your children. At one point you realize you gotta let these guys do what they want to do. Go on then, try it out. And we can only pray that they will come back and realize what's good for them. So Krishna is like that, waiting patiently, hoping that we'll come to our senses. And so Krishna never turns away. He's always there, right there in your heart. But you have to make the choice. Krishna is not going to kick your door in and force himself in. I'm here.
I wish you would.
I wish you. Yeah. Well, if you wish He would, then He will. But we have to really wish He would. Because we are actually what I call psychological atheists. We believe in Krishna, but in our life we act in such a way to always take Krishna out of the picture. Once I was in a room and there was a beautiful picture of Krishna. So I was chanting back and forth. Massive picture of Krishna, very nice, huge. So I was chanting back and forth for 2 hours. And after 2 hours I realized every time I was walking towards the picture of Krishna, I wasn't seeing Krishna. I was looking at my own reflection in the glass. And I realized we're right in front of Krishna, but we ignore Him and instead we're self-absorbed. So it's very easy. Just have to open our eyes. Krishna is right there. So may we become genuine, sincere. That's what we're praying. But you are there. You're well on the way. Keep walking. Keep calm. Krishna will come. Hare Krishna. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.